All right, so next up, we actually have a speaker who I first met on a ski trip. My first and only time I ever went to Whistler for skiing. We actually shared a room there through a networking group, yep. So this person is an entrepreneur, investor, and advisor whose strategy and implementation has turned a few $1 million spent on advertising into over $50 million in sales in the last few years for his clients and himself. He's also the CEO of a successful privately held company that helps people protect and grow their freedom and prosperity. He helps entrepreneurs turn their businesses into the greatest possible investment vehicle, a machine in which you can invest X in advertising, and out the other end comes X plus subscribers, customers, and profit. So please give us a huge hand and welcome Mr. Franklin Cole.
Right on. Thanks. It's an honor to be here with you all. I'm very excited. Thank you guys for having me. It's wonderful. Today I'd like to talk to you about how to transform your business into your most profitable investment. And specifically, we're going to use some advertising and some good sales copy to do that. Here's what you can expect. We're going to start out by talking about the journey from employee to entrepreneur to investor. And my goal is that everybody will leave here today thinking a little bit more like an investor. Then we're going to talk about a case study. I'm going to walk you through how we were able to turn $400,000 spent on advertising into over $1.3 million in 13 months. Then we're going to talk about how to put your profit to work to generate more profit within your business. Then I'm going to walk you through the most important lesson that I've learned while generating over $50 million in sales. We're going to talk about how to tell the right story to the right customer. And then I'm going to walk you through 9 specific tips to quickly write better sales copy and boost your conversions. Now, before we get into that, we're going to use something from, it's a copywriting term. It's called the damaging omission. I'm going to tell you, well, when I got an email from Matt asking me to come speak here, I was in my office and I was alone, but I sort of looked over my shoulders to see if anybody was there with me. And the first thing I did was I wrote, "Are you sure?" I'm not the speaker guy. I'm not the guru. I've always worked behind the scenes, and I've been very intentional about that. But needless to say, I was really excited about the opportunity. The other reason I wasn't really sure is because I know a lot of people here have Amazon businesses, and that's just something that I don't know about. I mean, I like to buy things on Amazon, but I've never started an Amazon business. In fact, my only foray into selling physical products was, it was an interesting company, and it was sort of it was a lifetime dream coming true. See, I had sent many emails and phone calls to Calvin Klein asking if I could become an underwear model for them. And for whatever reason, they didn't return my calls. And so what I did is I just went out and I started an underwear company. And then I went to the beach with some friends and took my clothes off and took some pictures and posted them on the internet. Yeah, thank you, yeah. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how could this guy not have been an underwear model his whole life, right? Well, that wasn't the case. Anyways, I ended up having quite a bit of success with that company. We ran a successful Kickstarter, raised $30,000, and all that was good, but I realized that it wasn't the right thing for me to be focusing on at the time. It wasn't where I was going to get the greatest return on my time and my money, so I just handed it off to my business partner and called it a rather expensive lesson. Which brings us to what I perceive to be the epidemic, and it's the reason that I walked away from that company. There's this epidemic, particularly amongst my generation right now, and it goes something like this. People are asking, what's the leisure activity that I enjoy the most? What's the minimum amount of money that I need to fund that leisure activity? And what's the minimum amount of work that I have to do to have that lifestyle? And I think that attitude is utter horseshit. It's completely missing the point. The people who are up here speaking to you, the people who have success in this room, particularly replicable success, didn't hack their way to the top. They didn't take the shortcuts. They put in the effort. They put in hard work. The things that I'm going to share with you are really good, and they can do really good things for your business, but they require hard work. And I think that's really an undervalued thing these days. Hard work is becoming undervalued. Ben Franklin said there are 3 things extremely hard: steal, a diamond, and to know oneself. I walked away from the underwear business because I started the underwear business because I had this dream, this sort of like it was going to be this lifestyle business, and I was going to take shortcuts, and it was going to be really cool. But communicating with manufacturers in China and sourcing wool from Australia and doing all these things, it was hard work, and I just didn't want to do it. And so I walked away and focused on the things that I was good at. Knowing yourself is extremely difficult, and it's something that needs to precede knowing your customers, and that's how you can do a better job of selling to them. We're up against all these circumstances in our businesses right now. Author Stephen Pressfield named one of those obstacles that we have to reaching our success, to reaching our full potential, the resistance. It's that thing that holds us back from doing the work that we need to do right now. We're also up against comparison, especially in an environment like this where you have a lot of successful people talking to you. Comparison robs the soul of joy. What you should be doing is focusing on becoming the best version of who you can be, and don't worry about everyone else. Another thing that we're up against is the status quo, and that is we have a lot of people telling us that what you should be doing right now is going to school and getting good grades and graduating and getting a job and climbing the corporate ladder, and that's the path to success. And they're completely missing the point. They all think that we're incredibly crazy for being in this room, for taking the risks that we're taking and starting businesses. And then we have fear of failure, fear of falling flat on your face, the fear that almost kept me from getting on this stage today. All of these circumstances could prevent us from achieving our peak potential. Bruce Lee said, "To hell with the circumstances, I create opportunities." I get chills every time I read that. I just did right there too, by the way. So I'm gonna read it again. To hell with the circumstances, I create opportunities. So let's talk about some of the opportunities that you have in your business right now. We're gonna start out by talking about the journey from employee to investor. I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs about this, and I've realized that everyone has followed sort of this similar path. Most of us start out as an employee, and we learn a lot of things. Mostly we learn what not to do, and then we kind of move into this place where we become solopreneurs. Maybe a lot of people are in this place right now where they still have their job, they start an Amazon business, or maybe you take the skills that you've learned from your job and you start applying them to other people's businesses as a freelancer. And then you realize that you're starting to get a lot of success within that, but you need to build a team to support it. And so you become an entrepreneur. And you actually have a team, and you start getting more and more success there, and people start to take notice, and whether you want to or not, you end up becoming a coach and an advisor. A lot of people are asking you for your opinion and all of that, and some of us turn that into a business in and of itself. But the thing that everybody seems to be moving toward is becoming an investor. We start thinking about, what can I do with this extra money that I'm making in my business? How can I get the greatest return on that money? So right now I'd like to help you just reframe your mind a little bit and think about the fact that the decisions that you make are investments. Who you hire, who you fire, what product to launch, what market to go into, all of these things are investments. And when I think about investing, I really look through it with two lenses. The first one is with risk-adjusted return. Now, before we get into that, we have to define what risk is. In typical financial parlance, risk is most commonly defined as volatility, and I think that's kind of missing the mark a little bit. The way I define risk is permanent loss of resources, and as entrepreneurs, that might mean permanent loss of time or permanent loss of money. So when I look at something from a risk-adjusted return standpoint, I'll give you an example of a business that I recently invested in. After all of the due diligence, after meeting with the CEO, after having all the conversations and doing everything, I realized that there's about an 80% chance that all the money that I put into this business, I'm going to lose it. 80% chance. And you're probably sitting there going, well, why would you ever invest in a business like that? Because there's a 20% chance, after doing all the calculations, there's a 20% chance that we're going to see a 50x return on that money. Now, that's a risk that I'm willing to take, but only after a lot of careful consideration. And that's just a good example of risk-adjusted return. Now, the other thing is, well, what could I have done with that money instead? And that's opportunity cost. And a good example of opportunity cost as it relates to us as entrepreneurs is, should I hire that freelancer to help me with my Facebook ads who lives in the Philippines and I'll never see, and we don't have schedules that overlap, but he only costs $1,000 a month? Or should I hire the guy who's going to be in my office every day and pay him $4,000 a month, and he wants a piece of the profit? There are different things to weigh there. And these decisions are investments. They have different risk-adjusted returns. And all of that is important to consider when you're thinking about the question, how do I turn profit into more profit? Today, in the world, by the way, I'm not going to make friends with any financial advisors today, I can tell you that right now. In the world of conventional investing, things like public stocks and bonds and mutual funds, savings held in a poorly capitalized bank here in the US paying 0.01% interest rate, that doesn't look like a very attractive place to put our money right now. I'm going to give that a big thumbs down. Instead, I like to look at private businesses, especially because we all have this incredible advantage, especially over the typical people who aren't entrepreneurs, in that we can assess a business and we can take a look at it and we know what it takes to build the things into that business that are going to make it successful. And so that's something that gets a thumbs up from me, but even more importantly, the best investment you can possibly make is in you and your business. You all took a risk by being here. You took a risk that the content presented would be good, that the people that you meet are going to help you get further with where you want to go. That was a risk, and it was an investment, and it was a good one. You took a risk. You invested in yourself. You're investing in your entrepreneurial education. A good investment, investing in your financial sophistication. But particularly, what I want to show you today is how to invest in your business, how to turn your business into an amazing investment. So I'm going to walk you through the case study where we helped a client take $400,000 and turn it over $1.3 million in 13 months. And really, there are 4 steps to be able to do that. And what we're talking about is creating a machine in which you invest money on one end, and out the other end come leads and customers and profit. And you're able to take a portion of that profit and reinvest it at the top. And the cycle perpetuates, and it grows your business in the most sustainable, scalable way. It's the safest way it's probably the safest investment you can make because you control the process. Plus, with this investment in particular, this client got 416,000 subscribers, over 17,000 customers, and substantial profit. It's a pretty good return. So here are the 4 steps and the 4 metrics that we used to turn 400,000 into over 1.3 million. It all starts with a sales funnel. A sales funnel starts with advertising, and that's getting people from whatever medium they're currently consuming to your site. And once they get to your site, we turn them into leads. And we do that typically by providing something for free in exchange for their information and the opportunity to contact them in the future. From lead generation, we go to front-end conversion, and that's where we sell them something valuable and make that initial sale. And the number 4 is back-end conversion, and that's where we help them to stick around as customers. We retain them as customers, and we sell them even more valuable goods and services. Now, the metric at each of these points is important. The first one for advertising is cost per click. How much does it cost to get one person to come to your site? At the lead generation level, it's cost per lead. So of all the people that came to your site, you divide the cost by the total, or all the people that became leads, you divide the total that you paid for that by the amount of leads, and you get your cost per lead. For front-end conversion, it's value per lead. This is one of the most important metrics because you're looking at how you're getting your money back. And finally, we have back-end conversion, lifetime value. So typically, people look at lifetime value of a customer. I also look at it as lifetime value per lead. Now, in this particular case study, I'm going to show you the specific metrics at each of these points. And I don't want you to feel like these have to be the metrics in your business. This is just this particular industry, this particular niche, this particular business. But the cost per click level, we were looking at paying 28 cents per person that we got to come to our site. The cost per lead level, it was 96 cents per lead, which means we had a pretty good conversion rate of visitor to lead. At the value per lead level, we're looking at 65 cents. And you might be saying, why would you pay 96 cents to only make 65 cents? We're going to come back to that. But finally, we have lifetime value. And this is the big one. And this is currently over $4.20 per lead, which is substantial, right? That makes it a great investment. But the two metrics that I pay the most attention to in this process are cost per lead and value per lead. And value per lead we measure on day 1, day 7, day 14, day 30, and so on. We measure it over time, and it's our way of figuring out when are we getting our investment capital back, and then how much are we making on that. So I knew from a management perspective, if by day 7 we had returned roughly 2/3 of our ad expense, then this was going to be a profitable campaign by day 30. And then by day 60, we'd be at 25%, and so on and so forth, because it builds over time. The secret is that you must see the path to profitability before you spend a penny on advertising. And this is where most people get it wrong. They just throw money at Facebook ads or something and hope that it's going to do something. But you need to actually map this whole thing out. And when you do, it allows you to have complete control over the entire process. So it looks something like this. This is a small example, and it's not really that important, but it starts with the advertisement. It goes into the lead generation. From there, it goes into the sales funnel and the sales flow. And then we have all these sort of automated ways to build a relationship with these leads over time and turn them into customers. And so typically, that's an autoresponder. It's a series of emails that allows us to deliver value and sprinkle in some sales. And so you look at it, and on day 1, you might have converted 1% of leads into customers. And then after they've gone through this whole autoresponder, you might convert another 2 or 3%. And then you have some promotions and stuff throughout the year, and that leads to a good return on your investment. But the most important lesson that I've learned while doing this, while generating over $50 million in sales, is that the message is the most important thing to focus on. It trumps everything else. It trumps graphics and design, trumps videos, it trumps everything. And this is assuming, of course, that you have a good product, so focus on that first. But the message is how you sell it. And when you do it right, when you have the right message, you're going to watch your cost per click, your cost per lead go down, and your value per lead and your lifetime value go up. The message is comprised of who it is that you're selling to, of what it is they're getting, and why they should take action. Who it is that you're selling to. There are things that we know about our customers, things that are conscious or stated. We know their demographics. We know where they're coming from. We can find all of this out. We know their age and in some cases, their race and their gender. We know where they were hanging out before they came. We know what specific problems they're looking for because they're typing it into Google and they're telling us. And we know the solutions they're looking for as well, the solutions to those problems. But there's this really interesting side of our customers that most people completely ignore. And it means that they're leaving opportunities on the table. And that's the unconscious and unstated. Our customers have key motivations. We have key motivations. Some of us don't even know what our motivations are. They have fears, and they have desires. And when you can address those things in your copy, you can add a tremendous amount of value to your customers. You can slay their fears, and you can fulfill their desires. And your sales messaging can turn into an incredibly valuable experience in and of itself. And when you integrate both of these things into your messaging, where you get your customer where it overlaps, that's where the magic happens. The next step is, what are you selling? And hint, it's not your product. That's not what people are there to buy. What people are there to buy is the solution to a specific problem. They're looking for an improved future version of themselves. They're looking for an amplified result and or experience, and they're looking for the slaying of their fears and the fulfillment of their desires. When you're sitting down to try to communicate, to craft your pitch, or to write your sales message, whatever it might be, these are the things to be focusing on. These are the things that actually matter to your customer. They don't care about the features of your product. They don't. They care about the results that your product is going to give them. They care about the better, the elevated life that they're going to have as a result of consuming your product. And when you can tap into that as you're writing your message, when you can tap into that elevated view of who your customer is, it's going to massively increase your conversion rates, and it's going to create a greater affinity to you and your brand and your products. And there are a few key reasons why people buy right now, right this moment. One of them is immediate pain relief, to quickly stop experiencing a pain point. So when you can, within your message, elevate the pain that your customer is experiencing, and you elevate it and you elevate it, and then you say, here is the solution, it creates a buying experience. And then we have immediate pleasure, and this one's pretty obvious. We want it, and we want it fast. I buy on Amazon because I can get it the next day, and that's really exciting to me. Then we have greed, because the perceived value far exceeds the purchase price. One of your main goals as you're sitting down to write a sales letter is to create such a highly perceived value of your product that when you finally get to telling them what the price of it is, it's just an absolute no-brainer. And finally, we have fear of loss. And this happens because the product or the special offer is only available to a limited time or in a limited quantity. Humans tend to respond to fear of loss more than anything else. So let's walk through 9 tips to quickly write better sales copy and boost your conversions. The first one is to write short, choppy sentences. When I come to a sales page or when I receive a direct response marketing email and it's big blocks of text, these huge paragraphs, I'm not really interested, and neither are consumers. We're all incredibly distracted when we're online, and most people are incredibly lazy as well. And so if you make it look like it's going to be hard to get through, to get to the point, I'm just not going to do it. And neither are your customers. So write short, choppy sentences and make your sales message look like it's easy to consume. The next one is to personalize your copy by writing to only one person. And so when you're sending an email to your list, rather than saying you all, you're saying you. You're communicating to just one person. I'm not addressing an entire audience or an entire list. I'm addressing one person, and it creates such a greater amount of affinity and relationship and trust. The next one is brevity is the soul of wit. That's something that Shakespeare said, and what that really translates to is cut through the clutter, which is kind of ironic because I had to translate it, isn't it? Cut through the clutter. When I sit down and I write a sales letter, I come back and I start just cutting it up. 4 paragraphs becomes 2. 2 paragraphs becomes 2 sentences. And if I can make those 2 sentences into 1 sentence without sacrificing the integrity of the message, then I've done my job. 4 is the real life test. One thing that's really valuable after you write a piece of copy is to read it out loud and ask yourself, would I actually say this in real life? Would I say it to my friend who I'm trying to sell something? This is a pretty good stop point and checkpoint, because what happens often is when we're sitting behind a computer, you see this all the time, if you ever look at YouTube comments, for whatever reason, people just feel really empowered behind their computer, that they can say whatever they want without any consequences. I don't know why. And we do this within our sales messaging too. We're super bold. We say the world is ending tomorrow. Buy my stuff. No, it's absurd. Give your copy the real life test. Read through it out loud. Read it to your mom or your friend or whoever it might be. That leads into remove hype. Again, the world isn't ending tomorrow, as far as I know. But this comes down to sort of the structure and the language that you're using. When you find ultra in every other sentence, you're doing something wrong. Or I see in the copywriting space, words like ninja and samurai. We're not all ninjas and samurais, are we? Remove the hype from your letter. Number 6 is to boost passion. This one in particular, I've been finding lately, has been remarkable. Anyone with any sense of an affiliate business knows that the key metric is EPC, earnings per click. For us, what I've been seeing lately, and affiliates don't come beat down my door because you can't promote this offer, is an earnings per click of over $1,000 on a message. And how do we get there? It's because we write with such incredible passion. We're incredibly passionate about what we have to say. And our customers respond to that. It creates such affinity. It creates such trust. When we see our customers in person, it's like family. We get hugs. It's amazing. And that can only come when you're speaking from a place of sincerity and authenticity, which is a term that a lot of entrepreneurs like to throw around. Oh, I'm a really authentic entrepreneur. Are you? Are you really being authentic? Be authentic in your message. The next one is discover your optimal writing location and lubrication. Sorry for using the word lubrication. What I mean by that is discover where you write the very best. For me, for whatever reason, it's when I'm on an airplane. I just sit down, plug in the headphones, and I'm just in the zone the entire time that I'm in the air. They always have to tell me to close my computer a few times because I can't stop writing when I'm in that state. Another one is at a coffee house. I don't know if it's all the ambient noise or the movement around me, but again, I'm locked in, and I've got my ideal writing place. I was recently speaking with an author, and he said, for whatever reason, when I'm in London, and he has an apartment right near where the Globe Theater was, it's like, for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's where I write my best. That's great. And by lubrication, the coffee house reference, for example, I'm usually just drinking a ton of coffee on an empty stomach, so I'm getting really jittery and writing really well. I don't know why. Then the other one is, this one's kind of interesting. A lot of times, I'll have a glass of wine with dinner with my wife, and then polish off the bottle, put the kids to bed, and for whatever reason, if I sit down and I start writing at that point, that's where the just gold flows out of my fingertips and onto the computer screen. Of course, that requires editing the next day. The next one is move on. When you are in that flow state, when you're just writing and it's gold, move on if you get stuck, if you can't think of a word or a metaphor, or whatever it might be. I've seen a lot of authors say, oh, use TK, it means to come. I don't do that. I just put a whole bunch of X's or I highlight it or whatever it is. But just move on. Don't get stuck. Don't allow yourself to get stuck. Keep flowing. Because at the end of the day, great copy is written during revision. That's where really good copy comes from. That's when is you hone your message. It takes time, but you write it once and you trim it down and you do the real life test and then you do it all over again. And you keep revising it and revising it and revising it until it's the exact message that it's supposed to be. After saying all that, I thought of number 10. And it's this: be willing to forego profits to tell the right message. I can convince a lot of people to do something online via a sales letter, but I might be doing it with the wrong message. And this really comes back to number 4. Be willing to forego profits to tell the right message, to explain your product the right way. We can throw all sorts of scarcity and limited time discounts and all these things into our sales page. But what does that look like in terms of having a long-term perspective, a long-term point of view? What is that doing to your relationship with your customer? Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. It's a relationship. I'd be remiss if I didn't just kind of stop here, because I've been talking a lot about profit and about money and about scaling your business and about all these things. And all these things are good because more profit, more money gives you more options. And more options gives you more freedom. That's a good thing. It is. I walked away from a situation a few years ago when I was making more money than I knew what to do with. I was flying private. I was buying things I didn't need just to buy it, because that was part of it. You just buy stuff when you have money. And it was empty. And I was sacrificing time with my family, time with my wife and time with my kids to make more money, but then saying, it's all for them. It's all for my family. I'm doing this for them. And I was completely missing the point. I've talked a lot about how to scale your business and think like an investor and make investments. And all those things, like I said, are good. But they're not the focus. They're just part of it. For me, my priorities, the things that guide my day, the things that keep me in check, I have a list of priorities. For me, my priorities are God and my wife and my kids, and my friends and my family and my mission. All these things come before making another dollar. And when you get it in the right order, you can start doing some really cool things. A business partner, he just sponsored an entire village in Nepal after the earthquakes there. Rented a helicopter, flew in a bunch of stuff. It was awesome. Yeah. We, a wounded combat veteran, the U.S. government completely abandoned him. And he had a really high, he was missing his leg. And we bought him a new leg after the government abandoned him. We were able to send him to Australia to get the procedure that he needed, and that's incredible. That's the type of stuff. Thank you. I'm not telling you this because I'm looking for applause. I'm telling you because this is the stuff that actually matters. At the end of the day, this matters. Time with my family matters more to me than anything else. We have all these opportunities to create more profit. We have all these opportunities to increase our freedom, but what are you going to do with that? What's your mission? What are you being really intentional about? Are you structuring your day in alignment with your core values? Do you have core values? I love this stuff. I love helping people with their businesses. I love showing them the map. Like, this is what you can do. This is all you have to do. Just do this, and then you'll do fine. You have a great product. Go do this, and you'll be fine. But what I care more about is a mission. What's your mission? We all have a limited number of heartbeats in our short time on this earth. And it's been an absolute privilege. I'm incredibly grateful to have spent some of my heartbeats with you all today. Thank you.